Well, I was in high school in the 1970s, and I drove a 1972 Ford F-100 pickup truck. It was puke green. That was the only color that, well, that was the only way to describe that color. Anyway, I was dating a girl, and she took me to an Easter sunrise service at this brand new upstart church up on the lake. And we went up there, and afterwards the pastor greeted me and heard that I was thinking of becoming a pastor, and he shook my hand and he said, "Have you given your truck over to Jesus?" Now, I grew up in the Baptist church, and so what that meant was that he needed me to do things for him. But I just smiled and was polite and shook his hand and said, "Absolutely, thank you," and left. It wasn't until a number of years later that I discovered Luther's saying. He said, God doesn't need our good works, but our neighbor does. And that's where I realized that I don't know whether that pastor back then meant it this way or not, but the truth of the matter is that when you and I have something, whether it's a 72 Ford puke green truck or whether it happens to be an extra jacket or all those things, sometimes we do discover that our neighbor needs them. And they need us to come alongside. And this doesn't mean that we move everybody in the neighborhood, and it doesn't mean that we give all of our jackets away. It just means that sometimes the best way to live out the gospel is to be Jesus with skin on. When you see somebody struggling, when you see a need, and you say, "You know what, I got a couple hours. Let me give you a hand." That's the gospel in action. It's exactly why James said, faith without works is dead. The two go hand in hand. They bring us this beautiful promise that gets fulfilled through hands and feet and voices. Aloha.